So why do you suddenly feel old? Not the psychological, I feel old when you're around somebody that's 20 or 22, but the real physical, you feel old. You wake up in the morning, you have less energy than you used to. It's the middle of the afternoon, late afternoon, you're more tired than you used to be. It's an enormously important question because it's one of the factors you want to think about as you're thinking, what is the right age for me to retire? And as somebody that was a retirement advisor for over 20 years, I want to share with you some guidance I was able to share with my clients and also some new data, some new studies that are available to give us some insights. And the first study I want to share with you is by Stanford Medicine. And premise of this study is time marches on predictably, but biological aging is anything but constant. And it's why there seems like sometimes you can wake up one morning, it's like, wow, I feel different. Or maybe over the course of a month or over 12 months. And, it may be that you have a physical ailment. So this is not medical advice. You want to speak with your doctor. But if you're in good health and you're starting to feel this, let's dive into the Stanford report. And this was according to the study's author. We're not just changing gradually over time. There's some real dramatic changes, says Michael Snyder, PhD, professor of genetics and the study's senior author. It turns out the mid-40s is a time of dramatic change, as is the early 60s. And that's true no matter what class of molecules that you look at. So it turns out that we don't just gradually get older over time. There's these step changes, is what this report is saying. And as somebody that's gone through my 40s, as somebody that's in my early 60s now, I can tell you I have felt that impact. Definitely in my early 40s, I didn't feel like I was 20 anymore. I definitely felt like I was 30 or 40. And now as I enter my 60s, there's kind of that second punch. And it's, as I said, it's important because you want to retire when you still have energy and vitality, or at least you want to be aware that you may not always feel as healthy as you do now. So as you think about the things on your bucket list, as you think about the things that you want to do in retirement that require good health, you want to keep this in mind. And speaking of, when is the right time to do these adventures? One of the saddest things I saw as a financial advisor is when people were putting off their big adventures, their bucket list items, and saying, when we retire, we're going to do this. When we're 60, we're going to do this, and 60 becomes 65, and 65 becomes 70, and for some people, they lose their health, and they never get a chance to do that. So a good book that's worthwhile reading if you're concerned about this, if this is an issue that's resonating with you, a great book is called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins that talks about, when's the right time to do things to get the most utility out of the money that you're spending, the most fun, the most adventure. Okay, now, for 65-year-olds, what is our life expectancy? And I'm going to go to health expectancy, but for 65-year-olds, for men, when we're 65 years old, we have a 50% chance of living to 84 or older, and we have a 25% chance of living to 91 or older. For women age 65, they have a 50% chance of living to 87 and a 25% chance of living to 93. Now, there's a difference between life expectancy and healthy life expectancy. We're going to get to that in a minute. But as a couple, if you're married, a man and a woman in this case, for these tables, you have a 50% chance of one of those partners making it to 91 and a 25% chance of almost making it to 196. So that's a lot of years, but are you going to have your health? Let's first look at this article by the Financial Times. Financial Times says fewer than 1 in 10 men in the UK are likely to reach retirement age in good health. Now, that's not the United States, it's the UK. And one place to get this data is our healthy life expectancy. Now, this chart is our healthy life expectancy at birth. And you can see when you're born, Japan, Singapore, Korea, all have healthy life expectancies at birth of over 73. And then you go to Cyprus, Israel, Spain, France, Iceland, Italy. They're all about 72 years old. But unfortunately, here in the United States, when you're born, you have a healthy life expectancy of 66.1 years old. That's just 13 months past when the average American retires at 65. I do want to share, if you make it to 60 years old, this is data that's shared by the United States Census Bureau. And you can see here for 65-year-olds, what's their healthy life expectancy. And you can see in the Americas, full life expectancy is about 21 years old, and healthy life expectancy is 16.6 years. So when you get to 60 years old, you have more time. And where does the United States rank in the world? Older Americans had the 31 longest tail, 60 in the world, which is 16.7 years left. And older American women ranked 33rd with 19.0 years. So that may seem like a lot of time, but let me put it in a different way. When we're 60 years old, most of us have less than 1,000 weeks of healthy active time remaining before we get a serious health diagnosis. And that's not a lot of time. So we want to be thoughtful and deliberate. Do we want to give up those 5 extra years between 60 and 65 for to get to when the average American retires? That could end up being 5 of your healthiest and most active years. And even if you get 1,000 weeks, that still represents a fourth of those years. Now, you do want to make sure that you have a financial plan in place and you know how much money you need to retire. Super important. And I recommend working with a fiduciary financial advisor. That's the gold standard, somebody that has your best interest in mind legally, your best interest before theirs. I do know that a lot of people in my audience are not going to use a fiduciary financial advisor. If that's you, I urge you to use software designed to help you prepare a comprehensive plan. Using Google Sheets or Excel, it's just it takes a lot of time. It's easy to make a mistake or forget something. So I urge you to use software that's designed for you. The software I like is Bolden. Used to be called New Retirement. You can subscribe to Bolden here. As I record this, super affordable. It's about $120 a year. I am an affiliate. This video is not sponsored by Bolden, but if you sign up using this link, you will be supporting the channel. Okay, so why do people suddenly feel old? Well, the Stanford study shows us that there is this period of rapid aging. The other thing is, as we get older, it's easier to feel lonely. And once we retire, if we're not careful, we can lose our sense of purpose. Now, this is another thing that derails people that financially could afford to retire early. Why they don't is they feel they're going to lose a sense of purpose. And that's a good concern. Having retired myself about 10 months ago, I can share that I still feel a sense of purpose. And I think I was thinking, gee, what am I going to do for 40 hours a week? Am I going to be involved in a not-for-profit or something else? But I think for many of us, if we can find some for 10 to 15 hours a week where we have purpose, that will go a long way towards helping us build a life of purpose. A great book to read, if you're thinking about this, is a book called From Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. And if you like this video, the YouTube algorithm says, this is the next video specifically for you that you should watch next. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.